Okay, so let's start using the software. So we go to buildings and we open the sample project, the house project. So we see here that it is a half of a double house, so with several floors. We have it here in 3D and we see it here in the 2D, and you also have some view filters that you can see here, for example, for ground floor. So we only see the points, the scans from the ground floor, and we also activate the photogrammetry, so we see the station points, and we could see all or see inside, so we don't see the ceiling, and we could see how the walls are, etc. So the first we have to do, so we see here all the functions. If the first time you won't see here anything, the first time you use the software, once you launch, for example, the wall function, you will see that you will get a message that you don't have any license. So you have to copy this dongle ID, Control C, and then send it to your dealer, or if you are a dealer, just sending it to us, and or you can go to info, run the function, so you can copy it from here with Control C and then send it to us, and we will send you the activation code, for example. So for example, once you get the activation code, in this case we got this code, which is a 30 days activation code. So we see here the current date, and once we activate it, we will get activated demo, and then maintenance expiration and license expiration, the days remaining, etc. So we could use the software. And in case we use the perpetual license and we get this activation code and activate it, the correct activation code, we will get perpetual, and then until 23rd of January 2024. So we will have 365 remaining days for the maintenance, so we can use each new update that we get, but the license is perpetual, so we can use it forever. So the license has been activated, and also we are seeing now here the most used functions, and we don't need to look for them under CAD or whatever they are placed. The first thing that I would recommend you is to create auxiliary vertical planes. So for example, one longitudinal and one cross plane. So we could use, for example, this quick line. We put it here on the right, for example, and choose a layer. For example, we create a new one and call it axis, and we put it a bit thicker, 0.70, and then we just create the lines just along the floor, for example, here along the corridor, and also a cross one along this line as reference. And go to the plane manager that is placed here, and we can create a new one. I recommend you to work with 2 monitors and having different views, so we can pick whatever points we need from the plan view, from the 3D view, from the cutting plane view, from the station view, from whatever view we want. So we create a new one. We would leave the plane manager on the other monitor all the time open, so we can quickly change the placement of each plane. So we create a longitudinal, we say it's a vertical plane, and I want it in this direction. Okay, and then we create a new one, cross one, and we pick these 2 points. Okay, so we can open a cutting plane view from here, and we can check how it looks like. So the longitudinal one would be like this, and because we have this filter 3D, we are only seeing one floor, but if we pick, for example, my filter, we see the whole building, so we will be able to pick each floor from here. And we can also change to the cross one, so we see that also the different rooms and etc. And we can also move the plane just by picking one point, so we will cut later on the the window and the door, and therefore we will be able to pick very quickly from there. So then we change again to longitudinal, so we see all the floors here, and then the first step would be to go to building. So we define how our building is, how many stores, how many floors we have. So we have a ground floor, a first and second floor, and we have no underground, so we just deactivate this, and we say first that we create the automatic layers. We will see in another video how we use the layer convention, but let's start using the standard layers. As soon as we click on add floors, we will get here new layer groups, and inside each layer group we will get a lot of new layers. So we have no underground and 2 overgrounds, and then we click on add floors, and we see here, for example, the layer group 00 with all the layers that we need, so floor underscore beams, doors, windows, etc. So everything has been automatically created. Then we see here the different floors, and then we should need to assign one point, one elevation to each floor, a standard elevation, although we will be able to pick for each wall, each room, each door, etc., the floor level, etc., but we define a standard level here. In case we have a vertical shift, so for example, let's check which elevation this point has. We pick there, but we have an absolute C coordinate of 0, so which is the project has been moved to the ground floor to the 00, because the architect wanted like that. But if imagine that we have here like 280 or whatever, and the architect wants this level to be at the 0.00, we would apply here the vertical shift. So we pick, for example, here, imagine that this should be the 00, we get 548, we say the local C should be 0, so the vertical shift has been calculated, and once we click on apply, this vertical shift will be applied from now on to all the points. So I don't do it because it's on the real level, but this would be the way to do that. So we move to here, so our ground floor, for example, this is our standard. We pick first here the elevation, we pick the C coordinate, this is this, and now before assigning the level we can decide if we can create at the same time an horizontal cutting plane, and then we decide at which height. So from the picked point, so from the floor level, I would pick, for example, 1.20 meters, because this way I'm cutting also all the windows. So I say create cutting plane, so we will see here we have only cross and longitudinal, and as soon as I assign the level, this elevation has been assigned, and at the same time one horizontal plane has been created at a level of 1.20 meters above the floor level. We would do the same for the rest of the floors. So we go to the first floor, we pick first this is active, we pick the C, and then assign the level, so we also get the horizontal cut, and we go back to longitudinal, and then we pick this level, activate, pick level, and assign, and so we have an horizontal cut also there. So now we have already defined our building, and in case our building is rotated, we could also define a general project orientation, for example, picking 2 points of this wall. So from now we could pick with the ortho mode, so creating perpendicular these walls, for example, with this orientation, but we don't need it, so we click on OK. Then the next step would be to go to settings or layers. So for example, if we go to layers and we say we have 2 options, auto layers or convert, we forget for the moment this convert because we will use some conventions, we don't need it. And you see here for floor plan, for section and elevation, and for 3D, the layers that I can manually select whatever I want, or I say auto layers off, auto layers on, so all the elements will be automatically chosen whatever floor I am, and then columns and beams and symbols or whatever. So okay, and then the next step before starting drawing the walls, etc., is going to settings. So all these 3 steps are the first steps for each project, Now it's taking time to explain it to you, but once you have done it a couple of times, you will do all these 3 steps for each project within a minute or maximum 2 minutes, no longer than that. So we go to settings, and here is where we define first the language that we want to use for this software. Then the plot scale, depending on that, the text will be created bigger or smaller. We can also work with profiles, but let's check first the elements and then checking how the work with profiles is. We can also use some norms that we will check later on what this is. So it's for room use or even room colorization, the use type or whatever, if we want to see all the kitchens in green or whatever. Then if we want to add a plus sign to positive levels, typical for architects, and then we define how the room stem, the door stem, the window stem, the beams, the levels, the decimals, and the 3D have to look like. And for example, I say for this customer, he wants to see the room name, the room ID, no classification, no floor material, but we want to see the perimeter and the area. And we also want to add this prefix for P, A, and the room height. And then on which level, which text style, etc. And then after that, the order, how we want to see that. We want to see first the names, then the ID, no classification, no material, but then the perimeter, the area, and the room height. So we do the same for door stem. So we say W for width. We want to see the height, and we want to see the C of the head of the door. And then we say the order, width, and height. Fine. So we go to window. We do the same. W, the height, and we want to see the sill height, and then also the layers, etc. And we forget for the moment beams and levels, and important is the decimal places that we want to see on the values that are automatically inserted. And if we want to create 3D elements at the same time, like if we want to create line strings and 3D faces or and 3D shells, depending on the software that will read our 3D elements. In one of these is better or not so good for the corresponding software. And also we can add a transparency to some special 3D object that will be created. For the moment, I recommend you to pick all 3. Just set a transparency of 50 or 70, and then the elements will be created anyway on a different layer, so we can activate or deactivate this layer if we don't need them. Once we are done, we could save our settings under a profile. Let's check with, yes, this is correct. So this is what I mean with working with profiles. For example, in training 1, we create the profile, and next time we launch the settings function, we will have here under profile training 1, but instead of doing it everything manually, so we could check this project is for customer A, so we see all these settings have been automatically chosen, or customer B or customer C, or like in our case for training 1. So we can click on store and we can start drawing. So from now we can start drawing the walls, the doors, the windows, etc.